How much of introversion and extroversion, in other words, our personality types, is based in nature, our biological makeup, and our genes, and how much of it is based in nurture, how we were raised in our environment? And regardless of this answer, how much free will do we actually possess in being able to change our personality types? Let's get into this. But before we do, I need to define a key term for you because I'm going to use it to help answer these questions. So it's going to be used a lot, and it helps if you know the definition of this word. The word is temperament, okay? If you don't know what temperament means, temperament is our innate, biologically based behavioral and emotional patterns that are observable in infancy to early childhood. So this is tied to nature because it's rooted in our genes, our genetic makeup. A basis of temperament is our level of reactivity. Studies have been done on kids, and they found out that kids react and can be categorized in one of two ways: a high reactive child or a low reactive child. In other words, highly reactive or not very reactive to things. A high reactive child is one that behaves very abruptly to stimuli, regardless of the stimuli. Whereas a low reactive child is one that outwardly expresses a very calm, cool, and collected demeanor when presented with stimuli. In a study that was done on a group of kids, they categorized the high reactive kids as ones that threw their arms around, screamed, cried, and just really made these outward motions with their body when confronted with a clown, while the low reactive kids just kind of stayed calm, cool, and collected with this clown right in front of their faces. So what accounted for these differences in reactions? The amygdala.
The amygdala is located in the limbic system of the brain. It controls heart rate, blood pressure, finger temperature, and other properties. It receives info from the senses and signals to the rest of the brain how to respond: fight or flight.
In that study that was done on the group of children and how they responded to the clowns, they found that the high reactive kids, the ones that were throwing their arms around, screaming and crying to the clown, turned out to be introverts, while the low reactive kids, the ones that just stared at it and, remained calm, cool, and collected, turned out to be extroverts. Why? Well, because the extroverts have a less reactive amygdala typically, while the introverts have a high reactive amygdala. The more reactive a child's amygdala is, the more likely that they are going to have an increase in heart rate, perspiration, tightness in the vocal cords, and just an overall feeling of increased tension and pressure in their bodies overall when confronted with stimuli, when receiving the general information that is around them. This is why introverts tend to be very observant people, because they're literally biologically affected by the information that is around them. They are very observant people and process their environment very deeply and really think about what they are observing because of the fact that it is affecting them on a biological basis, literally due to their genes. So now that we know that temperament is the foundation because it is rooted in our genes, we can have a better understanding of what personality is. Personality is like the flower that blooms and grows from the soil being temperament, right? Because personality, although it is directly tied and rooted in our temperament, it is still influenced by its environment, outside forces. And in our own lives, this could be cultural influences and just our lived personal experiences. So they have found that introversion and extroversion are 40 to 50% heritable because of our temperament. This means we can't really reduce an introverted or extroverted personality type to the nervous system that its owner possesses, because once again, only 40 to 50% of who we are is based in our temperament or our genetic makeup, not 100% of it. It's not a one-to-one relationship. Every behavior has more than one cause. A heritability rate of 50% doesn't mean that my introversion is 50% inherited from my parents, or that half of the difference of extroversion between me and my BFF is genetic. It's the intricate interaction between nature and nurture that makes us who we are. Environmental factors can produce an introverted personality type regardless of that nervous system that that person possesses. So how does our inborn temperament react with our environment and our own free will? And to what degree is temperament destiny? Well, let's look at the theory of gene-environment interaction. This theory explains that people who inherit certain traits tend to seek out life experiences that reinforce those characteristics that are within them. Kids who have low reactive nervous systems will typically start off climbing fences because they're naturally less scared to do so, and they don't think of it as risky of an activity as a high reactive kid thinks of it as. And then once they are comfortable doing that, they are like, now let me climb some roofs and even taller buildings, because their temperament is literally propelling them to keep seeking increasing levels of danger because they get a thrill from that. And they know in their minds that they're going to be okay because they're literally less sensitive to that idea and to that stimuli. Kids who have a high reactive nervous system are more likely to grow up to be artists or writers because their aversion to novelty kind of forces them to stay in the familiar, stay in this comfort zone where things are predictable and they only really have to rely on themselves. Our temperament never really disappears because it's literally our foundation. And because it's our foundation from an early age, it influences the types of habits that we create, the types of behaviors that we choose to exhibit. Now, some high reactive kids who end up being introverts can actually, on the outside, seem and present themselves as outgoing, sociable people, but make no mistake, they never shed their genetic inheritance. So what does this mean? We can stretch our personalities, but only up to a certain point, because our temperament, our foundation, will always influence us, regardless of the lives that we lead. Free will can take us far, but it cannot extend ourselves beyond our genetic limits. We're kind of like rubber bands. We're elastic and we can stretch ourselves, but only up to a certain point. So how can we stretch ourselves as far as we can and abuse our free will to our benefit? Self-talk and desensitizing yourself. What do I mean by this? Well, I need to explain another part of the brain to you, the neocortex.
The neocortex helps with decision making and soothes unwanted fears.
If you're like me and you are a high reactive baby who grew up to be an introvert, your amygdala may, for the rest of your life, go a little crazy every time you introduce yourself to a stranger. Why? Well, because that's our foundation. The amygdala is based in our temperament. But over time, after introducing yourself to a lot of people in a variety of different social situations, you are able to hide this nervousness on the outside and you gain some socialization skills. This is because your neocortex is in action. Your neocortex is telling you, oh, everything's okay, calm down, all is good in the hood. Your neocortex gets better at telling you these things because of life experiences. With enough experiences of you introducing yourself to people, your neocortex has data to prove that it's all in your head. You really have nothing to fear or worry about. Did these people that you introduced yourself to in the past really ever say to your face, oh, I hate you, oh, I don't like you, I think you're annoying, and all these other insecurities that are constantly running in your head? No. So get out of your own way. It's literally just in your head. This isn't actually factual. fMRI studies have shown that when people use self-talk to reassess upsetting situations or situations that they perceive are going to make them feel really anxious, that they actually help calm down the amygdala. That self-talk really helps put that amygdala to rest. Unfortunately, the amygdala cannot ever be fully suppressed. It's always going to be there. Even after enough social interactions that you've had and enough data to prove that there's nothing to fear or worry about, there still is that little voice that's going to be inside your head that's saying, oh, you're not good enough for this person. Oh, you're going to be embarrassing to this person. You know, there's always that insecurity. And so you will always need to reassure yourself, whether you're consciously aware of it or whether you're not consciously aware of it. And whether or not you're consciously aware of this reassessment is really based on how stressed you are and, you know, how you perceive whatever upcoming situation is about to happen. It's either a very conscious pattern or a conscious effort to reassess yourself if you're really, really stressed about this upcoming event or situation, or it's a very unconscious kind of very quick process if you're not really too scared about what you're about to be approaching. The amygdala is always going to be dominant because it has a storage of lifetime associations between strangers and anxiety, or heights and anxiety if you have this fear or this phobia of heights. But just because your amygdala is more dominant than your prefrontal cortex in your perception of reality, you can still put up a damn good fight. And a majority of the time, you can come out a winner. How? By going through your own version of desensitization training. It's such a hard word to say. So in other words, by desensitizing yourself. This is a way of conquering your phobias and combating your anxiety by exposing yourself to the very thing you're afraid of or anxious of over and over and over again, but in very manageable doses. This doesn't mean just going in headfirst with whatever you're afraid of or anxious about, because this will likely cause panic, further encoding your brain to associate those kind of things that you're afraid or anxious about with fear, shame, anxiety, etc. Instead, we want to take baby steps. So if you are scared of socializing with people and public speaking, I mean, that's the number one fear in America, over death. Can you believe that? If you're scared of that and you're an introvert, then I really recommend what I did is I joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a club and it helps with public speaking. And they do this in a way where they make it very comfortable for people who are scared of public speaking to want to give speeches, to naturally want to give speeches. Why? Well, in the first meeting, they don't force you to talk. You just kind of say your name to everyone, but you say it at your seat. You don't have to go up to the stage. At least that's the process that I went through. And then over time, you can volunteer. And what I really like about it is that they used positive reinforcement to encourage people to speak more and to give speeches more often and just to express themselves more in general by clapping every time someone said something, even if it was something small, like cheering and just getting really excited about it so that you were positively rewarded for doing that behavior, for speaking out loud. So that's how I got over my fear of public speaking and, even speaking on YouTube is through that club, Toastmasters. Now it's going to help make that neocortex a better fighter against that amygdala and knock it down and win some more fights, is talking yourself up, hyping yourself up through positive affirmations. So get in the habit of saying positive affirmations, okay? And talking to yourself in a way where you respect yourself very highly and you have a lot of love for yourself, even if you don't necessarily feel it. Just get in the habit of saying it and looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, yes, the world is my oyster. I'm always at the right place at the right time. I have magnetic, contagious energy, and people want to be around me because of that energy. I am so beautiful. I give to the world, and I am a blessing to the world because of what I give. I am so grateful for the love that is always surrounding me. I am so grateful for the type of people that I attract. I have so much to give to the world, just hyping yourself up with these affirmations and, make it unique to you and make it relevant for you. But this is really going to help with that prefrontal cortex in helping fight that amygdala. Okay. So you want to buff it up. You want to make it a strong fighter. And so that is really going to aid with that. Okay. And it's going to help boost it up and make it macho and beat that amygdala down, okay? So get into this habit. It really does work. Affirmations do work. And now that you know the science behind it, hopefully it's more believable to you, because I know there's some skeptics out there who are not really into the spirituality thing, but there is literal data to prove this, okay? That fMRI study did show that self-talk helps calm the amygdala, okay? So you need to calm down amygdala, right? Life is not as scary as you think it is. So I hope this helps for all my fellow introverts out there. And even if you're an extrovert, I hope this helped give you a better understanding of why you are the way you are, because personality types are very fascinating. There's so many theories and studies that have been done. And this one in particular really just goes to show that, yeah, we kind of are screwed because of our foundation, but foundation doesn't mean everything, okay? How we blossom, how we grow can be directed by us. We do have a level of free will that was able to help us break through our foundation and be better people and help us grow. Okay, so I hope that you like this video and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.